But today I have two boys from, I can't say boys. I got in trouble for saying that one time.
This is not political correctness over here. So we can say
No,
boys,
thank
we can
you
say
very
girls,
much.
and
I
we can say,
appreciate that.
bring the pain, Charlie!
I appreciate that. Two of the biggest boys you can imagine. Jake and Gino, it's people are probably watching this thinking to themselves, wait a minute, aren't you guys kind of like in the same space? Like no. Listen, there's plenty of, it's a big tent. And there's plenty of cool stuff to talk about. And this will be, for those of you watching this, this will be, I think, by the time we're done, some great inside baseball. Let's talk about the real estate education industry. Let's talk about what's wrong with it. Let's talk about, things that students should look for. A guy coming in my program today, I had to do 2 phone calls with him to convince him to get in my program. He had 10 questions and I can tell you, one of the worst questions, or the question that drives me crazy, is, okay, if I sign up for your program, how quickly will I own property? Really, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And by the way, Gino, you got 6 kids?
I got 6 kids. Yes.
Gino signed up with his wife, and he said, "So how quickly can I get a kid?" And then she started laughing at him.
And then we didn't stop. We stopped, but hey.
And he did the same thing with apartments. We got together. He said, "Jake, how quickly are we going to own an apartment complex?" And I laughed, and he didn't quit. So that's what he does. You know what I mean? So
I wrote an article on this.
As I always say, I have 4 kids, and once my wife found out what was causing it, she stopped doing it. And so in your case, Gino, tell her it's not the wine, honey. Just keep drinking the wine, okay? That's the only thing you got going for you right now, Gino. Is more.
Let me tell you, Charlie. Having a big family is like buying multifamily. The first deal, the first kid you have, you don't know what you're doing. It's proof of concept. I can do it. Bring it home from how do I run it, right? How do I raise it?
Yeah.
The second one is I'm really overwhelmed. Now we're 1-on-1 together, but it's not bad. The first one survived. The second deal is okay. The third deal and the third child is like, this is pretty good. I like this. I understand NOI. I understand how to raise capital. Refi and roll. I'm getting some money back. The third child is money. Yep. The fourth one is like, this is great. I really enjoy this. I'm almost financially free, and having the fourth kid.
You're next one, you're going to lose me on this concept.
So the fifth one is like, wow, now I'm playing with house money. This is fun because you know what? The oldest one can take care of the fifth one. I got an instant babysitter. And the only difference between having a big family and having a lot of multifamily, the multifamily puts money in your pocket. The kids take money out of your pocket.
Oh, no kidding.
Other than that, everything else is just as good. It's a lot of fun. Running a business and having a household is the same thing. They're the same concepts. Mm-hmm. Culture, core values, commitment, showing up every day, putting up with a lot of crap, choosing your battles. It really is, whether you have 1 kid or 6 kids, it's the same thing,
Gino, I want you to know I did the family placemat from Sapio too. I got the MIH family going on here, so you're gonna like that. That's my Hulu login too. So I don't know if people can see that shit, but I'm at the MIH family. So
okay, we got it now. Hey, questions. Everybody's dial in when they've heard that I was going to do this podcast. Y'all asked me to ask you a couple of questions. First one is, Jake and Gino, who's the brains behind the operation?
Not me.
I guess we got to look to our wives, right? Oh, I'm scoring big today! Boom!
Come on, man.
No, I think let's
dirty
we can totally get down and dirty. It's just we have our different roles and responsibilities, and that's what's really fun about what we do. We're a vertically integrated organization, and I run the day-to-day of the property management, and Gino runs the day-to-day of the education. We share roles and responsibilities in the syndication. We share roles and responsibilities in the capital company. So it just depends on what we're working on. And we, fortunately for us, we have a good partnership where we trust each other. We have, parameters set out and
let me ask you this, because Jake, Gino can kind of, no offense. I'm not going to try to, stir the pot a little bit, but here I'm going to stir the pot. Gino can kind of like coast a little bit. Do you guys say, listen, Gino, to hold your own, you're going to have to do 3 events this year. You're going to need to generate this, while I go out and do all the property management. Because it's really 2 entirely different businesses.
Yeah, but here's the really cool thing about what we have going for us is that, when we started together, we had alignment of core values, we had an alignment of family values, and we had an alignment of work ethic. And so to sit back and say that, and I know, like, if I'm going to, say something to Gino, he's going to get back to me like that. There's no non-responsiveness, and there's no way that, you can sit back and say that education is not work, because he busts his ass. I know he puts in 12-hour days. And so it's just, while it's a slightly different type of business, we believe that once you get into any business, it comes down to people, systems, and culture. So whether it's multifamily education, whether it's syndication, whether it's you're funding a property, even if you're working on the charitable contributions that we are heavily involved in, it all comes down to people, systems, and culture. So at the end of the day, we're doing very similar things. It just has, the mechanics and some of the folks that are on the team just are a little bit different.
And Charlie, when we first started out, we didn't do that. We did IMA. We did everything, right? So I was actually coaching Jake. We were analyzing deals. I was flying down to Knoxville. We were putting deals on the contract. When we came out with Jake and Gino at about 200 units, I said, Jake, I'll start doing the education. And they work so well together. So your education students start investing with you, right? Your education students start doing funding deals through Grand Capital. So it really is a workable thing. And like you saw me a few weeks ago, I go to a lot more of the events. So Jake doesn't like flying. He doesn't like getting on a plane.
Oh, so we're talking about that. We're talking about the big whoosh. He looks like a Mr. Tough Guy, and he's just like, dude,
a Mr. T in the flesh, brother.
Yeah, sure. I watch you in a barroom brawl, but man, you can sit right in the right seat. And I'm the pilot. I mean, I'll take you up on my plane, pal. I mean, what the heck?
Hey, listen, Jim Clayton tried to take me out flying one day, and I turned him down, so don't feel too bad.
He had a helicopter flight over 300 units, and he said no. And I'm like, dude,
it's like once in a lifetime. Yes, man. Come on.
Look, I've been on planes before. I just don't enjoy it. So
I don't know. As we always say, pilots always say, the most dangerous thing about flying is the drive to the airport.
It probably is. I mean, the stats don't lie, right? I just choose, fortunately, I'm in a position where I could choose to dictate my time, and that's one of the things I choose not to do. So
drive to the airport. I'm going to remember that, Stenzi.
Yeah, remember that one. That's always true. All right. Hey, let's talk a little bit about how you guys get started. Because, we have pretty much a very similar pedigree, how we got started in this business, in the multifamily business. So, let's remember, like Jake said, nothing's on the editor room floor. We can say whatever we want. So
back in 2009, Jake was pharmaceutical rep. He was getting catering orders out of my restaurant. So there's a dish named Jake's Chicken. I don't have a dish named after myself in my restaurant, but Jake had it because he was good. He's good friends with my.
What town was this in?
It was Mapac, Putnam County, New York. Restaurant's still there right now. My brother's still running it right now. We just met, and it took a couple of years. He was working with my brother. I was stuck in the kitchen. 2011, he comes in. He says, Gino, I'm leaving, going down to Knoxville. You want to look at multifamily? I said, I'd love to, because nothing in New York was making sense. So in 2011,
So you were looking.
I was looking. I was always looking in New York. The numbers didn't make sense even after the recession. The taxes, the insurance, the per unit. It didn't, right? I mean, and there weren't many big assets. So he moves to Knoxville, and I got lucky. So I jump on LoopNet, and I'd already been coached. I've been through a couple of coaching programs, so I knew I had taken my massive education. I said, when you get down there, and he went down without his wife. So he went down there for 6 months, everybody. It's not an easy thing when you get started. He relocated for 6 months by himself. It took us 18 months to find our first deal. We found that first deal, owner financing, 25 units. It had a lot of hair on it, but you know what? We stuck with it. 6 months later, we found our second deal. So it's all about getting that first deal. But for us, we wanted multifamily because he had a full-time job. I had a full-time job. If we can get one property that's got 5 units, 10 units, 25 units, all in one location, it's easier to manage. It's easier to take care of while we're doing it part-time. And that's how we started.
Okay, let's talk about that first deal, because that is, and it took you 18 months. It took me about 3 months. Okay, now, I'm not saying that because I had any over you guys.
That's more.
It's all luck. I mean, there's a whole lot of luck involved in doing that stuff. So
listen, our students go a lot faster than us too. We're good with it.
Oh, I know. I had one student, the guy, obviously not going to mention names, but he burnt the ships. Like, he knew he was losing his job. He knew it was coming. His business was failing. He was losing his job. Charlie, I got to do something. And this guy, first, 12 months he was with me, nothing got going. And then as soon as he loses his job, he now, in the last 12 months, He's now owns 3 complexes.
Mhm.
It just started happening for him. And it's just a numbers game. It's sales and marketing. You just got to get out there and put out enough offers.
Mhm.
And, somebody's going to say yes. One gray dot, as we say in my business, one gray dot, and somebody's going to say yes.
Mhm. Well, that's the thing. It's the race to 80, right? If you can underwrite 80 deals. For Jake and I, in our first 18 months, we probably didn't underwrite enough deals. We didn't have the credibility. Jake's wife goes out and buys a home, so that slows us down a little bit, right?
Here she goes again. That woman.
She likes spending it, man.
Oh my gosh.
So what we talk about, Charlie? We talk about the SATs, the Starbucks, Amazon, and Target. And if you go down, I look at the Amex
card.
every week on the credit card, and it's just the same thing.
Oh,
So
wait
I know
a
lot
minute.
of
Wait
guys
a minute.
feel the
Wait a
pain out
minute.
there.
Wait a minute. I gotta write that one down. The
Starbucks,
SATs.
Amazon, Target, SATs.
SATs. Starbucks, Amazon.
And actually, I
Target.
tell Gino I'm fortunate because it's not Gucci and Prada every week.
Yeah,
so
no
we're actually
kidding.
we're in a blessed and fortunate space. But
Yeah, but still, Starbucks is like the Prada of coffee. Why can't you do Dunkin' Donuts? What's wrong with Dunkin' Donuts?
She's not a Dunkin' Donuts girl, Charlie. I married up, so
I know. Yeah, look what she ended up with.
Yeah.
She settled.
She did.
So you settle with you. She's not going to sell for a coffee.
She's doing all right.
Good for her. Good for her. So, but I'll tell you something, that 18-month window, because like I said, like I opened up the questions, and these new students say, well, how quickly can I have a property? I had these students come to me from another program, and we couldn't get anything going. Yeah, we wasted 12 months. I said, well, how many offers did you make in the 12 months? Well, I think we made about 6. Well, listen, if you're going to come to me and do the same thing, I can't help you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're going to have to work. This whole concept of, and you guys are going to laugh when I say this, the whole concept of putting it up on remote control, putting your feet on the ottoman, no tenants, toilets, and trash, just travel, Tahiti, and tennis. Yeah, I don't think so. It's all about work. This is a job.
And the other thing too is it's I love this quote. I don't know who said it, but don't confuse effort with results. You're going to put the effort out at times, and you're not going to yield anything. It's going to feel pretty bad, and you're going to have a lot of pain, and you're going to be running into that wall a lot. And I'm telling you, a lot of times when you want to quit and you're this close,
3 feet
those
from
are the
gold.
hardest times that you go through as an entrepreneur. But if you can push through and keep fighting on, all of a sudden the seas seem to part and the snowball starts to grow. But it's when you want to quit, to have that perseverance to push through those times. Every time that I've had these like major inflection points where the business has gone 10x or we've acquired another 500 units or whatever the case may be, I've always run into a tremendous amount of opposition and pain before that time has really, I would say the seas have opened up, if you will.
But Charlie,
by the way, Jake, I said that. That was a direct quote from
Don't
me.
confuse effort with results, Charles Dobbins.
That's exactly.
The whole thing that you're talking about with your student though is really everyone on this call, get clarity. We all need clarity, right? Your student who lost his job, his clarity became real.
Oh,
He needed to be
exactly.
there. So if you don't know your big why, my big why was I hated what I was doing. I wanted to really become financially free and I wanted to help others. That was my why. How do I do it? I found multifamily is the vehicle. So everyone out there can go to Charlie Dobbins and come to Jake and Gino and say, I want to buy multifamily. We're going to ask you, what's it going to do for your life? How is it going to impact your life? Who cares about cost segregation? Who cares about cash flow? Who cares about principal pay down? None of that matters unless it's going to change your life or unless you have a reason why you're doing it. Do you want to become more charitable? Do you want to raise a family? Do you want to become financially free where you can grow the business and do whatever that is for you? Make sure that locks in. So when Jake has that inflection point and he gets punched in the gut, he can continue on.
You see what he's doing, Charlie? He's dripping that little family thing, and he's trying to level me up to 3 kids every time. I know these are directed coming my way right now.
We already found out you're getting lucky tonight. We already found that out. So it might be true.
As long as there's no resistance to the SATs and I'm not bitching and complaining about it, I might, right?
I got to tell you something, Gino. You said about owning multifamily. You want to change your life. Okay, so I say the same thing, but I think we say it in a different way. I think when you say it, you're looking at more like a 30,000 foot view, more like holistic on your whole life. one of the rules that I say is owning multifamily is going to change your life. How is owning that property going to change your life? Because you get these people out there thinking, I'm going to buy a C-class property in a declining area, and I'm going to turn it around, and everything's going to be great. Like, no, listen, when you buy that property, it's going to change your life, and I don't know if you're up for it. And I remember telling, a lot of times the best thing I do for my students is get them out of deals that they shouldn't be in. And I'll never forget the one guy, he was an older guy, and he was looking at a terrible property in a terrible area, like 16 units. And, he's 67 years old, and his wife is just the sweetest, nicest lady. And I just said to him, I said, Bob, can you picture your widow going to that property the first of every month, knocking on the doors to collect the rents? Hey, done. He walked away from the deal, because you got to think about how is owning that property going to change your life.
I like that.
Yeah. It's, but I tell you, so, okay. You mentioned, you and I think, obviously I'm thinking that Jake did the same thing, but we got to start with the guy down there in Rockland, Mass, or, you mentioned a couple other people, Gino. What, who have you used who taught you?
Oh, as far as coaching, I used, first of all, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I think that was huge for me, actually. Back in 06, 07, he had a coaching program back then, and it was good. I mean, it was a little low level, but I didn't know anything, right? I didn't know how to analyze markets. I didn't know how to underwrite a deal. It was great. Then actually, after
and it was multifamily? It was focused on multifamily?
Yeah, it was multifamily. Okay. So back then, he was more hands-on. So it was for me, it was perfect. I just needed that because I was investing. So I actually took action from it. I went and invested outside my market. I learned how to use a property management company. I learned how to deal with offsite and not being there. So when I transitioned going to Jake, I was sort of managing these properties from not being in Knoxville. So I could understand that Jake was quote unquote the property manager, and I was actually managing Jake and managing the properties from afar, our first few properties. So I had an understanding of doing that. My next
I was going to say, I learned from, and I learned from Gino, basically going forward. I definitely I never had any formal education except for the G Daddy. I did read Fixer J DeSima in Investing in Fixer Uppers though. I love that guy. So mine was a little bit, it was kind of like the education times the action marriage leading to our results. And
that's
Gino,
amazing.
Yeah. Gino got the education, I just said, I'm ready to go. I had a shit ton of energy and let's do it. And then it kind of worked out. So all
because of your chicken dish.
It was all because of the chicken dish. Yaki Boom Boom's chicken, man. It's #1 bestseller. It was keto before people even knew what keto was. I tell people all the time I invented CrossFit. I got a job out of school and I started doing CrossFit before it was a thing. So, we can be cutting edge and ahead of the curve at times.
And not even know it.
And not
even be able to monetize.
But the problem is that you're correct. We didn't know how to market it. So now as we're going through, we're actually marketing. We're actually doing a little bit of marketing in our life. And whoa, you know what? It works.
It works.
And Charlie, I'd be remiss to say that I went to coaching school too to become a life coach. So I think everyone should really, before the multifamily, get your life coaching in order, get your physical, financial house in order, get your mental house in order, because that's really important. Personal development, where Jim Rohn says when you work on yourself is where you make the money. And a lot of people don't think of it that way. They think of let me go out there and make money and save money. But really, that life coaching would really help me a lot. And it helps me a lot with, with students, because starting on their why, figuring out what their goals are, how to set proper goals, what are your values, what are your choices, what's your mindset, all that stuff needs to be flushed out first, put it down, and then you can make a life map of what you want to accomplish or what you want to achieve. Because a 16 unit, what's that going to do for you? Maybe that's not what, maybe going to syndication. It
might end up ruining, it might take you back 2 steps.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I went and I became a high performance coach with Brendan Bouchard. And what I found out is that I'm the worst high performance coach there is. I'm just not a good coach. I am strictly transactional. Like I will help you through the transaction. I'll get you, from point A to point D. We'll make sure that you're safe every step of the way. But and I'm going to help you with building your business. But listen, you gotta have somebody that's gonna look over your shoulder and make sure you're doing everything right.
So talk to me, the high performance coach. What did you like it? What did you like about it?
I didn't like it.
Really?
I didn't like it. Yeah, I dropped $10,000. I went out there, and let me tell you something. My business took off when I went to Brendan Bouchard's Experts Academy.
Yeah, I love his Experts Academy. Yes.
Did you go to that?
I didn't go to I did his program online. I did the online
Okay.
program. So it's awesome. Yes.
Okay, so I walked in there, and I won't say what he said, but he makes this claim from the stage, and I heard it, and I thought to myself, that's right. That guy's right. I do need to fix my business, because at the time I was, half in, half out of coaching, mentoring, and being a lawyer. And, I couldn't quite figure out what I was. And then when I went to his 3-day, and I realized I've got to focus, I want to create the best coaching program I can ever have. And that's when it all happened for me. That was about 2.5, 3 years ago. And my life has changed drastically. I love doing this business now. It is a blast. But it was really Brendan Bouchard. So then I went into his high performance coaching thing, thinking that what I wanted to do was probably what you're doing now with your students, is raising them up and really being more of a holistic coach to these students, and helping them with a mindset. And that's not me. That I found out, through Brendan Bouchard, that's not really my thing. That's the difference.
For us, it's an important component. We have students before in the sales process. I want them to set goals. I want them to see if we're a good fit. I'm not going to take somebody on who has massive debt, who doesn't know how to create a business. So that's important for me. Yep. And it's just one little component of it, because we do the buy right, the manage right, the finance right. We have all the events together. We have a bunch of coaches. So, but for me, I don't want to be able to train somebody who doesn't have the right mindset, because Charlie, you can shove all the stuff down their throat and you can teach them all your strategies. One person will take off and one person doesn't. If I can eliminate the person that doesn't by setting those goals, having those goal setting exercises with them, figuring out if they want to be in this business, or they just heard it's a great thing. That's I think one of the ways that we utilize it.
But it's also different, Charlie, in the fact that so they'll have not only that one-on-one touch point with Gino, there's also, they have an accountability coach that's more for that day-to-day. And then they have their deal expert coach along with the customer support team and the student success specialist and whatnot. So it's cool. It's interesting just how it gets broken out, because we feel that for the full life cycle of the student experience, there's many different touch points, and there's many different sort of moments when, okay, this may click and they don't necessarily need so much of the hand holding, but they need the deal review and things like that. So it's just, as the student grows, there's different, members on the team to
I got to tell you, we talk about the fact that we are in the same space, and we are, but I got to tell you, it's interesting how you guys have designed your program, how I've designed my program. There's no right answer. I like what you guys are saying. I might end up stealing a lot of your ideas, because that's what I do.
Hey, man.
Well, you are a lawyer, so.
But it's not necessarily always. We invest a lot in our education, and the accountability coach. We do scaling up coaching, which is the Rockefeller Habits. And that's something that we picked up from our scaling up coaches that works really well. So we have accountability coaches that we're being coached with. And we also have, our quarterly review coaches. So it's a model that worked well for, us on the receiving end, and we implemented it in our own business. Okay. So now you say scaling up, I just saw that expression recently. Does that get something to do with the book Traction?
It is with Vern Harnish.
Traction is very similar. That's the entrepreneurial operating system. We've gone through that as well. We've actually been coached by those folks as well. And again, remember what it comes back to with this, it's the people, systems, and culture. So we invest a lot of our resources on that, because we feel comfortable with our our model, buy right, manage right, and finance right on the multifamily side that we've designed and that we utilize. So, but for the other businesses, we like to apply the different scaling up models.
So Charlie, I think the toughest thing what we do, and you and Jake and Gino and all the other educators, is that multifamily is a long game. It's not a wholesaling where you're going to get a deal in 60 days. That's why the mindset means a lot, and those touch points are important, and the accountability coach is important, because on month 4, they might have lost their job, or they might have a problem, or there might be the holidays, or whatever's going on. You need that touch point. You need that community. You need that environment to keep moving on. That's important. I went to law school nights after I worked in the workforce for a while, and I'll never forget that 3 or 4 weeks into law school, at night, I finished my job. I'm driving to class. I'm sitting in class, 6:30, waiting for class to begin. And I just have this wave come over me, like, I got to do this for the next 4 years.
like, wow, how the heck am I going to do it?
Yep.
And that's what you're describing. That's
Yes.
people have the exact same feeling. Like, why haven't I had like efforts and results? Why haven't I had any results yet? I've been doing everything they tell me to do. And you're right. It's a long process.
Charles, just tell your students, you go to college for 4 years. You spend 4 years to get a degree, and then you get out. So if you need
that may not make you money, and if you got art history, you just lit the money on fire. So
yeah. And if it takes you 18 months like us to find a deal, it will take you 18 months. It'll be well worth it, because then 3 years from when you started, you're going to be rolling. You're going to be cranking. You're going to be enjoying the game. So it is a long game. Just have that mentality.
And here's the other thing too, Gino. I'm sorry to interrupt, but if you look at it,
it's the only way you're going to get a word in edgewise with this.
Hold on. No, but it's
come on.
It's the first 2 years, basically, we made no money. The second 2 years, we made no money. And then all of a sudden, the snowball started building up before we started hitting out, like 7 figures and things. So it doesn't, you have to just, believe in the mission, believe in the long view that it's going to come, because it's not something that happens overnight. But all of a sudden, bam, it starts hitting, and you're like, holy shit, this works.
Right.
And that's the hard thing to tell people, because they're in the shit, they're in the weeds, they're in the mud, they're getting beat up. Something shitty happened on the property that they didn't expect, and they're saying, what the hell, did I do this for? But if you can get through that, you can really create a great life for yourself. Yeah, absolutely. A phenomenal life, a life like you've never had before. What do they say? If you work hard for 5 years, so you have, true, man.
The rest of your life will be worth it. Let's talk about something, Gino, that you just mentioned earlier. It's part of helping people is getting your house in order. If you've got problems, if you've got losses, if you've got debt, and you think you're going to come and join my program to solve all your problems, it doesn't work that way. And that's one of the things that, I got a call from somebody the other day. He said, listen, I'm in your program. I've got some problems on my credit. Is that going to prevent me from doing deals? I said, no, we have workarounds around it. We can solve it. But you got to take care of your credit issue. We got to figure that out and solve that problem, and find out why you got yourself into that problem, and how we can put you on the right path. So, that's all part of getting ready to do this business. You want to be a millionaire? Well, you got to start thinking like a millionaire. And those guys don't. You got to be committed to self-improvement and self-development as well. It's not just on the multifamily side. Like I said, we've spent, and I'm not embarrassed to say it, we've spent over $300,000 in our own education in the last year. And it's not, none of it has to do with multifamily at this point. It's all about, the people, systems, and the culture, and making sure that, we're doing the right thing on our end to grow the business. So Charlie, real simple for the listeners out there. Start out by using Dave Ramsey's principles. Start out by having an emergency fund. Start out by creating a budget. You create a budget, you're going to save 15 to 20% off the top. And a budget's not just for limiting expenses, it's also for increasing your income. So if you're a salesperson and you're doing 10 calls a week, you want to make an extra $1,000 a month, increase that to 20 calls a week. So that budget is crucial for you to get your income. And the 10% might not get you there. You might have to be more aggressive with it. Let's be honest. Let's just start saving. That's the important thing. Let's start saving for the emergency fund. Then maybe a couple months in the bank if you lose your job, and then let's start saving that money to buy assets. Change that mindset. All right, that's the key. Okay, guys, let's us girls here, just us girls. Let's talk for a moment about how we manage our money. I mean, Michael Mikulevich, profit first. I take my money off the top and it goes into separate accounts and never touch. I max that on my 401ks. I max, put it aside. I get my tax account. Everything is set aside. I watch my budget. I've got my annual budget. I've got my cash flow. I watch my cash flow. I am constantly monitoring my revenue and knowing where things go. And I think that's just a smart business person. And if you're not like that, you better learn, because you got to keep track. We do keep score in this life, and that's one of the ways that we do it. So I want to elaborate off that just for a second too, because I want people to not get hooked on the fee game and understand what owning apartments really is, because we bought our first 1,000 units before we did any syndication. And the best place to be in the multifamily space is as a true multifamily owner. And don't poo-poo a 30-unit deal that you're going to buy directly or you're going to buy with a partner. That thing can still be a great asset to own. I want people to really consider saving money and buying assets. Refi the money,
save some more money and buy some assets. That's what we've done. And we live off the cash flow. That is our revenue source. Number one is the cash flow from these units. If you can buy them right, it can really be just the number one play. And that can be it. You don't have to. So we're vertically integrated. We do the management. We do all these other businesses. But the sweet spot, numero uno, is the multifamily ownership. It's taking the real money and buying the real asset with it. And I think that is the first thing that people need to get their head wrapped around.
So you're thinking that what you just said, you meant was that, hey, don't poo-poo a 30-unit deal if a cash flow is beautiful.
Well, some people I feel like are getting caught up with everything they see on Facebook these days. I just did 150 units and I own 0.001% of it.
Yeah.
Well, what equity do you actually have in it, right?
Yeah.
And you had to, and here's the thing. I am okay with community banks because we can get 15% down on a community bank deal, get it turned around, and roll it out to agency. And if I'm going in with the same agency deal or with the agency on that same deal, it may be 30% down. So I need twice the amount of money to buy that same asset. So it's not that I want to hold it with the community bank forever, or you could do a bridge debt or something like that, but you're going to get more equity. And I think equity is what makes you rich. That's the key to this game.
What I tell all my students is hoard your equity.
Yes.
And because that is what you give to your kids. I work for my kids. My kids are going to get the equity. I tell them, like, hoard your equity and don't be so quick to give it away. Hey, I've got this lawyer who's going to be my partner in the deal and he's going to handle all the legal stuff. No. A lawyer is a wage slave. You pay him by the hour. You don't give him equity. You don't give him your kid's future because he's a lawyer. You can hire a lawyer and be done with them by the closing date. Hoard your equity. That's the key.
That's a hard concept, though, because most of us, that's delayed gratification, right? I mean, that's a really hard thing to do because you're not getting paid. That's why real estate brokers, they love it. They're salespeople. They get those transactions. Jake and I talked about it a couple of days ago. Why would a real estate broker bring us this deal? Why wouldn't he want to partner on this deal? Because he's used to the payday today, not the payday 18 months from now. So
they're hooked on the smack. That's
the hard thing. And, Charlie, what you're saying, I think everyone on the call, find out how you can create a personal financial statement for yourself. I have to do mine monthly because we're always doing deals. We're constantly refining or something. So mine's updated monthly. I have my expenses going in every month. I'm seeing what my home expenses are. I'm seeing what my income is. Make sure you keep a running tab of what your personal financial statement is. And numbers don't lie. I mean, basically what's going on. Numbers do not lie. So I think that's where everyone should start. Start with a budget for your home. And start with a personal financial statement. And then from there, start building out your schedule of real estate owned. You'll get all your documents together one step at a time.
And be wary of the SATs.
Yeah, exactly. But Jake, can't you see Gino like going to his wife going, hey, honey, you're going to have to work a little harder this month because we're a little tight,
Charlie, she homeschools Charlie. I can't get her to work. She's homeschooling the kids, so I can't.
Is she really good for her?
She is. So
I guess, the Siri just said something to me. Sorry. Hey, it's really, Siri, really good for her.
Siri says good for Julia. All right.
Good for Julia. Well, you figure that he lives in Florida now. He's got to homeschool the kids. They're not going to get an education down there.
No, you're right.
Oh, that's great that you moved out of New York, New Jersey down there to Florida just because you said, hey, why not? I'm gone.
It was a process. It was another process, like buying a multifamily. I started thinking about it back in 2014.
Yeah.
It took me till 2016 to leave the restaurant. And then when I left, I ended up leaving New York in 2017. So it's goal setting, right? It's about values.
Yeah.
I wanted to spend more time. I wanted to have a better quality of life. So I knew what my values were. And from there, I could set the goal of leaving. But that was more of a dream. So don't fall in love with the goal or the outcome. Fall in love with the process. And I love multifamily. I love analyzing deals. I love buying deals. I love working with Jake. If you do that, sooner or later, you're going to hit that goal. Don't be fixated on the goal. Be fixated on the process that's going to take you to the goal.
Yeah, and Jake doesn't have the same goals, though, Gino.
His are bigger, dude. He's killing me.
Dude, I only got 2 kids, man. What can I say?
He's going, look at all the podcasts behind us. Like, let's start another podcast show. Yeah, sure. Let's write another book. Yeah, okay. Let's write another book. Yeah, let's start another company. So I'm just like, okay, good idea. Visionary integrator. So let's do it.
No, the G-Dad's got the board game coming out this year. Come on.
We're gonna do a board game this year. So I mean, this like... He's shotgunning me.
Jake said, hey, you want me to watch? Hey, you want to see Gino's head explode? Watch this. Hey, let's come up with a new game. Yeah, sure.
Gino, what's your wife say that makes you cringe?
What did she say? I was thinking.
Yep.
Those are the words. I was
Oh,
thinking.
man.
You know?
Yeah.
And then
I was
Jake-
thinking, and walls in the
Jake's-
house start coming down.
and Jake's wife is, hey babe, I was thinking. So
Hey, babe. Hi, babe. Hi, babe.
I get the lead up to it. I know the pain's coming with that.
So what are you guys going to do this year?
We're gonna sell a deal. We're buying a deal right now. We're doing the board game. We got a 16,000 square foot office space that we're bidding on right now, with a full on training center, which is totally badass. And so I'm going to put these. So we have Rand Property Management, Rand Partners. So we have Jake and Gino brand, and then our real estate brand is Rand, RAND. And you can see it there behind Gino, the flexing, dude. Yeah, you had it right there. Anyways, there's going to be a huge, like 30-foot tall Rand man on top of the building, and we're just going to deck the place out with architectural glasses.
You see what I'm dealing with,
what you're
Charlie?
doing? You're building a church, is what you're doing.
Pretty much a Jake and Gino church. That's right. It's gonna be the mega center in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Exactly. Yeah.
We will have armed guards.
Crystal
mofos.
Cathedral of Jake and Gino.
So if you try some shit, you'll get mowed down because we will have armed security. So don't even mess.
Oh, good for you. Good for you, man. That was unbelievable.
That thing in Texas, you saw that where that guy,
I saw that
was
video.
crazy, man.
Unbelievable. Good for,
You counted. It was like 4.5 seconds.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah. And the guy was, the retired FBI agent, I think they said, but then they stopped saying that. I don't know if he was or not.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay. I love this next question, and I think this is going to be fun. What's going on with this multifamily market?
What's going
demand,
on,
man.
is
There's people, they want it. Supply and demand, baby.
Yeah,
Well,
and there's the supply's not there. The demand is so huge. It's not like 2008. You guys weren't around in 2008, were you?
I was buying other deals. I was in mobile home parks. I was in strip malls. So I was
let me tell you
tail
something.
end.
I was there, and I lost my shirt. So I've been through it once before, and I'll tell you this market is nothing like that. It's an entirely different world right now than it was.
It's demographic changes, though.
What makes the difference? That's what I was going to ask you. What do you think the difference is? I'll give you my opinion after.
Now there are several different things, but there's one thing that just stands out above all the rest: student debt. Student debt. My kids are not thinking about buying a house. They're not buying a house. They're apartment dwellers. And the demand for units is so strong right now. Back in 2008, the underwriting, the financial underwriting was stupid. I mean, I say this all the time. The movie The Big Short, the most impactful scene in that movie was the stripper scene, where she's got 5 condos and she's a stripper. Well, then that just tells you right then and there. Mm-hmm. We don't have that type of financial underwriting right now. We have the Amazon effect going on that drives inflation lower because the prices are so low. It's a race to the bottom. And the demand is so, especially for workforce housing. Now, let me tell you, I got 2 of my complexes are under contract right now, and I got another 2 to go. I'm going to start building. I think I'm going to start building. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just to find. I can't find a good product. I want to stay in my backyard here. I can't find good product. The numbers are.
What do you think you'll be in it per square foot, Charlie?
Well, okay. I'm not going to give you a per square foot because that'd be confusing based upon the area. But I think I'm shooting for $115,000 per unit. Now, remember, it's workforce housing. It's workplace housing. It is what the developers call.
Is that including the site work?
Yeah, that's all in. That's all in. It's got to be. But right now, I'm going through the analysis. I've taken the 9 communities that I'm looking at doing it in. I'm took all of the properties in those communities. Everything is at 100% occupancy. Mm-hmm. Everything up here has a waiting list. So I think it's time to build. It's time to build. So that is what my focus is going to be in 2020 is to start doing a ground up construction, or what I think is even better than that, modular.
Real quick before Gino hits, the one thing that trails behind what you said, we've had demographers on the show before, and they've talked about like big shifts ahead. And so not only are the millennials moving south, and there's population growth, you're seeing the rents really top out. What's happening as well is there used to be this demand that the developers thought for golf courses. So the baby boomer is going to move in because they want to go to the golf course, buy this, that, and the other thing. Well, what they're doing is they're trailing and they're drifting or drafting behind their kids. So the kid moves to Nashville, and all of a sudden they have a baby, and then the parents are left up in New York twiddling their thumbs saying, what the hell are we going to do? We don't want to. So now they're actually shifting now to Nashville to spend more time with their family, and they're seeing that the parents now are following the kids. So all the demographics are saying, okay, this is what's pushing this shift, and you're seeing the growth in like places like New York come from like Asians and people coming from overseas. So it's this total shift that you did not see in '08. It's really
it's fascinating.
And there's also the whole share type society. We do Uber, we share it, we buy clothes that are used, and we live in apartments because we may move over here for a job. Next year we're going to be in San Francisco. So it's just aligning with the demand that and the desires of the people.
Right. It's the ownership mentality. Back when our parents were around, you had to own it. Nowadays, I don't have to own the car. I'll just rent your car. And especially with vacations, because with VRBO and all those other sites, Airbnb, you can spend a weekend in a luxurious mansion and then you go home.
Well, think about this. I go visit Gino all the time in St. Augustine, and my wife's looking at this condo, and then next week she's looking at a place on the beach. And I'm saying the carry from the taxes alone, we can rent whatever place you want. I don't care. You rent the highest, most expensive place in St. Augustine a couple times a year, you have it. But I don't want that carry of the taxes and the insurance and the bullshit and the maintenance of something that's not going to be our primary residence.
Yeah,
Charlie.
But I'll tell you, I'm looking at buying like a 2-bedroom condo in Kiowa, which is where I want to end up. And right now, just Airbnb-ing it and letting it run and let it pay for itself. And nowadays, it's so simple. The Airbnb has become a system that you just hire these Airbnb managers and they just make it all happen for you. It's fascinating, absolutely fascinating. But I think I don't see so. You hear these people, and I'll tell you something, Gino. I'll probably right before we end here, I'll stop the recording, and then I'll this one I don't want to get out there, but there is a particular guru who is not buying anything. He's not doing anything right now. He's not making any moves in the industry because he's waiting for it to crash. He's waiting for the correction, and I'm telling you something. I could be wrong. Obviously, there will be a correction of some sort. I think maybe the stock market might have a correction. I don't think our industry is going to have a correction.
I think what you said earlier about the student debt, there's been people pointing to that for many years now, where it's just the universities got too greedy. The value is not there. They're not going in, getting a degree and then getting the value on the outside. So I think that is a tremendous risk.
There's a couple other things out there, though. We have 1031 money rolling into these deals. That is really, really amazing. We have cost segregation. The benefits of tax with multifamily is amazing for foreign investors. And then we have negative interest rates all over the world, and you have 2 caps in Australia. They're going to come invest in here with a 4 and 5 cap. That's where the money's flowing into, where it was in 2008 and 2009 in commodities and gold and oil. That's where the money's flowing into a multifamily now. And it's a viable product. It's not a commodity. You need a place. Jake, what are the 3 fundamental needs?
Food, clothing, and apartments, baby.
So that's one of the 3. So one of those 3, you need it. And the affordable housing, where they have 100,000 units coming online every year, you need 250,000. We have a big shortage. Read that book by Chris Porter. It's called Big Shifts Ahead. You will become a disciple. There's 150 million millennials and baby boomers right now. 10,000 baby boomers are turning 65 every day. Those people are renting.
And they're all getting knee surgery, so they can't mow their lawn anymore, and they need a rental.
No,
like that,
hey,
bro.
Listen, I hear you, pal. I tell I'm 72 years old, and I hate stairs. I was at the physical therapist yesterday.
Hey, man, I was just kidding, man. I didn't.
No, that's fine, you asshole. No, but I tell you, I wake up in the morning and I got to roll my foot out, or if I'm going to walk, or I'm hobbling all over the place. So I'm not looking to. I want 1-story living. That's all I want. So, yeah, man, I tell you, I think we guys, you guys dodged the bullet back in 2008. I got it right between the eyes, but I stuck with it, and I stayed in this business, and it's.
So let's analyze what happened. Were you over levered back in 08?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Well, here's the thing: is the cap rates were compressed when we purchased them, and as soon as the market crashed, I never missed a mortgage payment. I paid my employees on time every month. The cap rates changed, and so what would happen is now Gino, Jake, you talk about a local community bank. Let me tell you what happens in a down market between a local community bank and a Fannie and Freddie, a GSE. Okay, because I was underwritten by both of them. I had 6 different complexes, and so the local bank, when the shit hit the fan, I could sit with the banker and restructure my note, and he would work with me. I had a personal recourse loan, which I'll never ever do again. He got creative on the note A and note B, and how to make it work, and here's his problem. He had the state bank examiner breathing down his neck, and the state bank examiner walks into his bank and says, "Hey, that guy's apartment complex you finance? Go have him get an appraisal." So I had to pay for a $15,000 appraisal a year after I bought the property because the bank examiner wanted it. So now I have to pay for this appraisal, and come to find out, now and the property's worth $1 million less than what it was before. Oh, you're going to have to come up with $250,000 to increase your collateral with the bank. That's what the bank examiner says. So, we had to do some dancing, and I'll never forget sitting in a diner on a state road in Michigan with the banker across from me, and the two of us are eating out of the same French fry pile, like trying to figure out how we're going to solve this problem. And you could do that. I got a Fannie Mae loan. Market crashes. We're struggling to keep this thing going. We're doing everything we possibly can. We and even the dust lender said you guys were unbelievable. You did more than you can imagine. And we're sitting across from the guy from Fannie and Freddie, and we're like, can we kind of restructure the note? Can we do something? No, we don't do that. Like, well, because we did that with the bank up in Michigan, maybe we could do it with, no, there's no note to restructure. This is a security. This is a commercial mortgage-backed security. We just take the property back. Like, well, no, but we've never missed a payment. We've done all these things. We've put money in it. We don't care. You're just a number. We'll take the property back, give it to a special servicer, and we're done. And that's the difference between when you go through those types of crashes, this is what happens. And that's why I teach my students, we got to be very conservative. We've got to make sure that we structure this thing the right way. I want you to understand exactly what happens, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so those are the types of things that hey, I lived through, and I, saved some properties, lost some properties, but that was the name of the game.
Typically what we do too is we keep, everything on like a Fannie Freddie type note. But if there's going in and there's something that we're going to rehab or turn around, we like using the community bank on the front end a lot of times, just because it's you get in for so much less, and then
and the prepayment penalties
and the prepayment and the refi, and they're being so it's a strategy we've used many times that we like to use that for obvious reasons.
No, listen, I'll tell you, the beautiful thing about this business is this type of conversation, this type of structure. And I say this to all my students. I say that one of the most beautiful things about the multifamily business are the people in the business. I mean, when I was in the insurance business, it was backstabbing, cutthroat, conniving. The multifamily business, hey, we're all in this together. Like, I may be partners with you guys in the future. We may work together on a deal. I may put money in one of your deals. And that's just the way it is. And that's the beautiful thing about this business. And I love it. I absolutely love it.
I agree.
Yeah, it's cool. Except for one of the 50% of the Jake and Gino crew. I like it. Look at, jeez. Gino actually.
I know you're talking about Gino. I'm good.
I was going to say, you don't like me, Jake.
I was wondering.
You got more kids than him, man. He's getting sensitive.
Oh my gosh! And I can't even catch up. I'm beyond the point of catching up. I can't even do that anymore. You win the game. So yeah, but all we need is Gino to go. Jake to go flying right past us.
I think I'm good right now. Gino's been pushing, but I'm on the sidelines currently. So
now, what do you? How many kids? You have two, but how old are they?
1 and 5.
Oh God! Oh yeah, God! That's nothing.
He'll get another one.
26, 23, 21, 19.
19. College?
Yeah, I got one at George Mason. He's my conservative. He's my conservative son. This is what he gave me for Christmas.
Was that Ronald Reagan?
Ronald Reagan.
Hey, did you see this stuff on? There's like these huge. They were trying to do like another Mount Rushmore, and there's like 2 dead zones of these huge president heads. Google president heads. It's amazing, and they're like fucking 25 feet tall, and they're 2 different fields. One's in like Houston, and I forget where the other one is. I saw it on online the other day. It's totally nuts, man, and they're just decaying. Someone tried to do a park, President's Park, I think, and it failed. And so now, like, there's literally like in this field, there's these president heads decaying. It's really interesting.
Well, let's get Trump up there.
You know, I don't know. I think they're done making him, man. You know. He probably would be willing to do his own though if he thought it was going to go in a nice place. So.
I think he's already done it for crying out loud. We just haven't. It hasn't been unveiled yet.
It's Mount Rushmore. The next one's coming out soon, right?
Exactly. All right, guys. Hey, listen.
It's going on the wall. Never mind.
I actually have another podcast right behind this, or we could keep on talking. But this is actually, if I understand it correctly, this is part 1.
Hold on. I know it's the best podcast you've ever had. You don't have to. It's okay. Charles, I get it. I know.
For that one.
I get
except
it.
for that
I
one.
Understand.
Yeah. No, I understand.
We do have one.
How many times have people said that to you? I've had 2 people tell me that I was the best this was the best podcast they've ever been on. But let me just tell you something. The nice thing about this is, as I understand it, and Gino, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is part 1 of a 2-part podcast, right?
You're coming on ours. Yes,
I'm coming on yours.
Yes.
And then I'll be in your house. Yeah. Let's see how that works out. Yeah, that'll be fun.
I'll show you guys.
I'll show you what it's really like. But hey, awesome call. Bravo. You guys are great. I really enjoy stealing clients from you all the time. And,
Can't expect anything more from a lawyer, right, Jake? You got to watch out for those lawyers.
Thank God we have the growth mindset and abundance mentality. So,
No, that's exactly it. And that's what Gino said before, is the abundance mentality. And that's really what it is. Mm-hmm. It's like, we both want to see people succeed. And, that's what we do for a living. That's exactly what we do. So
we believe in a free market, and we love competition. So, sharpen your sword, Charlie.
Rising tide lifts all boats. And, every other little effort over utility or whatever it was that I said there at the.
Don't confuse effort with results.
I got to write that one down. Jake and Gino, everybody. Coming down here from Knoxville. Thanks, guys. I will look forward to our part 2, and I'll get this thing out as quickly as I can. You guys are awesome. Good talking.
Thanks. Appreciate it, guys. Have a good night.